This is Bill Starbuck speaking. I want to suggest two different ways in which extreme contexts can add interest and opportunity to your lives. One opportunity comes from different kinds of research about people in extreme contexts or people creating extreme contexts. The second kind of opportunity relates to your own personal context in which you work on a daily and weekly basis. That is, the people around you and how your social system operates. So, what can extreme context mean for you? The most obvious research opportunity lies, I think, with the kinds of special people and organizations that operate in extreme contexts. Paul Knott is not an average human being. What makes him an extremely successful and almost heroic mountain climber is a bunch of special skills and motivations and probably ambitions that normal people don't share. Similarly, the people who start new entrepreneurial businesses aren't just like everybody else who goes out and gets a job in the local office or local factory. Entrepreneurs are driven by an almost insatiable desire to have autonomy and to be their own bosses. And some of them, though not the ones I've met, appear to be driven by a desire to accumulate wealth. Some of these people, very successful entrepreneurs, have shown signs of these ambitions very early in their lives. Others come to the ambitions later after they try something more conventional. Bill Gates dropped out of college after only 2 years in order to start his own company. So it's clear that he really didn't find the normal, ordinary progression from college into a job as a satisfying vision of his future. Now, I've looked at two kinds of organizations that get involved in extreme contexts. One is NASA, the space agency, which, of course, undertakes exploration of an extremely dangerous context, the physical environment around the Earth. In addition to the danger that the universe raises for NASA and our unfamiliarity with what the university offers, our local political situation has complicated life for NASA by, for example, requiring them to purchase equipment from specific regions or states. NASA, dealing with this, has had a whole series of serious failures as they've tried to untangle the complexity of their task. They've had problems due to their organizational structure, to the social statuses of different kinds of people within their organization, and to the kinds of training that their personnel have had before joining NASA. The other organization I've looked at that I think was pretty interesting is Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen and Katz, which is probably the world's most successful law firm. They do not face an extreme context in the sense of an extreme business environment, but they create a very unusual environment for themselves, and they are employed by other organizations to help them deal with emergency situations. And in a sense, you could say that Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz is an emergency medical team, EMT, to help big corporations cope with serious problems. Wachtell Lipton has been extremely successful in doing this. They have become known as the legal law firm that can win cases that are unwinnable. So when a big corporation gets into very big trouble, they call up Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz and say, please, can you help us? Unfortunately, Wachtell's reputation is so strong that it's very likely that when a corporation calls them and says, can you help us? Wachtell will say, no, we can't because we're working for the other side. As a result, Wachtell has been very influential in corporate law in the United States and to some extent outside the United States. They've also been extremely successful financially. Their partners make incredible amounts of money on a continuing basis because the corporations that hire Wachtell Lipton need their services very badly. Now those are a couple of research projects that I've worked on that deal with extreme context and suggest some opportunities for you to pursue that area. But the other area, I think, is even more potentially fertile, and that is how to build a personal context for yourself that is extremely different from what you normally encounter. So you're building an extreme context in the sense that it's extremely supportive. I've had very good success in my life because pretty much by accident, I blundered into two situations that have led to my personal success and the success of my colleagues. I call these nests, and Andreas Schwab and I wrote an article about the nests and how they work and what their properties are. And we published that in the strategic organization in 2016. What you want in a nest is a bunch of participants, in this case, I'm showing little birds, who are all active in their efforts to take advantage of their situation, their context, but they're sharing this effort and helping each other in the process. My first context like this was Carnegie Institute of Technology back in the 1950s. And Carnegie was trying to revolutionize business schools. They talked mainly about business schools in the United States, but their impact turned out to be worldwide. Their basic theme was that business schools should be involved in scientific research. The participants at Carnegie were extremely successful. Of the 15 or so faculty who were around Carnegie at the time I was there, 5 won the Nobel Prize in economics, and 5 more have been nominated for the Nobel Prize in economics. The doctoral students, there were about 10 of those, and every one of the doctoral students that were together at Carnegie with me received job offers from the very top business schools. Not all of them chose that option. I didn't. I chose a school that wasn't that prominent, but everybody had that opportunity. My choice was Purdue University. And when I got to Purdue University, I found there were some other people there who thought that if we joined together and helped each other, that we could accomplish more than if we worked individually. We began by meeting weekly for lunches, where we brought our little sandwiches into the conference room and we sat and we talked with each other about what we were doing and how it worked. Gradually over time, that group of people, probably about 6 of us, grew into a much larger group, and we acquired resources from the university, and we undertook projects together. As a result of that, we became very well known. Now, that was part of our strategy, however. It seems that, to me, looking back on it, that these nests require a leadership group. At Carnegie, it was some of the senior professors, about 3 or 4 of the senior professors. At Purdue, it was similarly about 3 or 4 people who were a little bit ahead of me, 1 or 2 years ahead of me, and one who was a full professor. And we helped each other as much by emotional support, by showing interest in what each of us was doing, as by any actual research contributions. But an element in both cases was a common theme. Carnegie was selling this idea of scientific research. At Purdue, we had a very similar kind of idea, but we were selling ourselves as people who did lab experiments and trying to be a little bit more systematic about the gathering of evidence. Our activities at Purdue brought support from the deans, who probably later discovered to their regret that that support made us more successful than it made Purdue successful. At Carnegie, of course, the Ford Foundation jumped on the bandwagon and financed a lot of their activities. Of course, it does raise a question, if you set out to build a nest, how much you tell people about what you think the prospects are going to be. Because what happened at Purdue was, after a time, all of us who were participating in the group became well known and received offers from other better known universities, and nearly all of us left Purdue and flew away to other places.